The Confederacy of Independent Systems wasn't exactly famed for its tactics. While it did have a number of tactical geniuses, General Grievous and Admiral Trench among them, its droid army still tended to rely on extremely basic tactics throughout the Clone Wars. This is particularly odd since, as we mentioned earlier, it had a number of extraordinary tacticians. Additionally, Separatist forces sometimes did use more inspired tactics against Republic forces, only for them to never be used again after their first appearance. This begs the question, why didn't the Confederacy use these tactical approaches more often? This video is sponsored by Surfshark. The Imperials are always watching. With their chain codes and authoritarian measures designed to keep eyes on you, there's no better time to get a fast and easy to use VPN that maximizes your privacy from the prying eyes of Chancellor Palpatine. Going back to Earth for a minute, Surfshark lets you install and run on unlimited devices on a single subscription and lets you connect to 15 of the largest Netflix country libraries, including Canada, where you can watch classics like Breaking Bad, as well as The Good, The Bad, The Ugly. With all of these features and much more, Surfshark is so confident you'll love their product that they're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee. So make sure you head to my link in the description to get Surfshark for 83% off, as well as 3 months completely free. To start, the CIS had quite a lot of specialized gear, something that's not very well known due to how little they used it. Along 5 standard E5 blaster rifles, we've seen BX series droid commandos use portable energy shields, rocket launchers, and sniper rifles on various occasions, often to deadly effect. Whole specialized droid models showed up only a few times despite their obvious utility, like the sniper droideka. Even more mundane pieces of equipment, like theater-scale energy shields, saw only occasional use. Some of these bits of equipment seem like things the Seps could really have made use of, with those portable energy shields being an excellent example. These handheld shields resembled the ones used by the warriors of the Gungan Grand Army, though they seem to be much more effective in the capable hands of the commando droid. They could absorb incoming blaster fire, but since solid objects could pass through them safely, commando droids could also stick their blaster barrels through the shields and fire back, essentially creating a poor man's version of the polarized shields employed by droidekas. These shields could have been a potent staple of droid armies, but nonetheless, we've seen them used only once by a team of commando droids stationed at the Citadel. The reason for these shields' scarcity was likely cost. There's no way these bad boys came cheap, but even then, they surely weren't so expensive that the Separatists could only afford to equip one garrison of droids with them. The Citadel was a high security installation, but many other Separatist strongholds and warships merited similarly comprehensive security. I mean, where were these shields aboard the Invisible Hand? Surely the flagship of the entire CIS Navy merited at least equivalent security to the Citadel. Speaking of energy shields, why didn't more Separatist droids have built-in shield generators? Through the droideka, we've seen that built-in shields worked wonderfully. Of course, rank-and-file battle droids definitely wouldn't have been worthy of such equipment, but what about commando droids or Magna Guards? Magna Guards could definitely support limited power shield generators, and commando droids probably could have as well. This isn't even that far-fetched of an idea either, seeing as the Republic gave its clone commandos personal energy shields. Why didn't the CIS do the same with its commandos? All of these questions have essentially the same answer. The Separatists didn't care about keeping their droids intact. Unlike the Republic, they had a massive numbers advantage and were constantly cranking out new battle droids. They didn't need to keep their battle droids alive, so they didn't really try to. This was actually a smart move, in all likelihood. Let's keep in mind that the clones had a really powerful arsenal of weapons, with even their standard blasters being virtually overpowered. Only truly powerful personal shields would hold up against fire from a DC-15A for long. And really, those just weren't worth the credits. While shields were expensive, other bits of underused Separatist technology weren't, like sniper rifles. The Separatists actually had a variety of sniper units. The most common was the basic battle droid assassin, which was rarely used and only really made a notable appearance in the Battle of Munilinst. Commando droids were programmed to use sniper rifles and have been shown to be quite good with them, but again, they rarely made use of that programming. That wasn't for a lack of effectiveness either. A team of Commando Droid snipers on Seleucamai nearly killed Captain Rex, after all. Additionally, the Separatists actually had special sniper droideka units, which we bet you completely forgot about since they only ever appeared once. Sniper droidekas featured heavy blast armor that protected their frontal sensors, which was capable of safely absorbing blaster fire. This meant that, if a Jedi redirected their own shots back at them, the bolts would just impact on the armor, forcing the Jedi to find other angles to attack the droids from. It also appeared that these droids had shield generators, like regular droidekas, though we've never seen them use them. The reason the Separatists rarely used snipers is for the same reason the Republic rarely did: a shortage of good targets. While the Grand Army of the Republic wasn't as hive-minded as the Droid Army, it was adapted well to working as a collective unit, and so picking off individual clones would have done little. The Jedi were the only real targets for Separatist snipers, but sniper fire was only moderately effective at killing Jedi, and since Jedi liked to fight from the front lines, there were much easier ways to take them out, such as orbital bombardment. With that said, the Seps had less of an excuse to not use snipers than the Republic did, since snipers were known to be somewhat effective against Jedi. After all, it was the killing of a Jedi coordinator at the hands of a Sith sniper that turned the Battle of Mizra into one of the most decisive battles of the new Sith Wars, nearly costing the Republic the entire Outer Rim. Those were all pretty specific examples, but let's talk generally for a moment. There was one extraordinarily basic tactical approach to combat that the CIS did use over and over again. We're going to name this approach the Wall of Death. Separatist commanders loved to just line up their droids in neat, orderly columns and then march them toward the enemy, forming a massive moving wall of battle droids with armored support behind it. These big, traditional formations admittedly looked exceptionally cool, but they were extraordinarily vulnerable to everything from landmines to flanking attacks to enemy air support. Despite the Wall of Death's many weaknesses, Separatist commanders just kept on using it with minimal changes to the formula. Here's the thing though, the Wall of Death worked. Since Separatist commanders didn't have to care about casualties, they were able to routinely use the Wall of Death to overwhelm Republic positions, as they always had superior numbers. It's also worth noting that the Wall of Death was not only how the droid army was designed to be deployed, but also the most efficient way to deploy it, as MTTs and C-9979 landing craft pretty much had to deploy their troops this way. That's all well and good, but surely there were ways to improve the Wall of Death, right? We bet you've asked yourself one question in particular every time you've seen battle droids marching in formation.
Where are those droidekas?
Droidekas were some of the Separatists' most effective units. Even Jedi struggled to take them down, and while they weren't cheap, the Confederacy was nonetheless able to produce large numbers of them. They were routinely used as security aboard warships and in Separatist installations, but we almost never saw them on the open battlefield. This may seem like a glaring flaw in the Separatist playbook. Surely the Wall of Death would have been truly unstoppable if it was being led by droidekas. Well, it might have been. On perfectly solid ground, that is. Droidekas were mostly used inside Separatist installations for good reason. They weren't great with varied terrain. When deployed, they relied on 3 barely movable feet to stay balanced and could easily be knocked over and disabled if they couldn't find even footing. Beaches, muddy fields and the like would have made an absolute mockery of these formidable units. Furthermore, when deployed, they were quite slow. Too slow to lead the Wall of Death. On the battlefield, they were only really useful as last-ditch vanguard units or cleanup patrols, and even then, that depended on the terrain. There's one last tactical approach that you might be thinking the Seps should have used more: advancing under the cover of a deflector shield. Under General Warm Loathsome, a droid army in a Wall of Death formation marched under a theater-scale ray shield, which it planned to use to shrug off fire from Republic artillery cannons until it got close enough to blow them away. This was a good plan, but again, the Separatists rarely used it. There were, again, a few reasons for this. Firstly, there was the reason that the strategy didn't work for Loathsome. Shield generators could be destroyed and needed to be defended against infiltration teams. Secondly, believe it or not, these shields wouldn't have been big enough for the whole army. Consider the massive droid army deployed in the Battle of Malastare. It would have taken dozens of theater shields to protect that thing, and they would have had to be mobile so that the droids didn't march out from under their cover. It just wasn't practical much of the time. So, that's our look at some separatist tactics that seemingly went underappreciated. But what do you think? Would you like us to take a more in-depth look at the Wall of Death in the future? Let us know your thoughts and more in the comment section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.